Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself, George, by Tate and Dave for a very special episode of Reboots from Hell. I want to say a special episode, the second ever episode of Reboots from Hell, a show in which we reboot a classic film or franchise or something that no one wants to be rebooted. We'll go into a little bit more on the premise very shortly. I want to ask you both, firstly, how are we doing?
Yeah, doing very well today. Doing good. Ready to discuss not only some Star Wars, but also completely destroy the prequels by recasting and rebooting this from the depths of hell, honestly. Because I know people over the years, people have been talking about rebooting either the prequels or now the sequels is the one that people want to get rebooted and stuff like that and have a second shot at. We get the chance today to make that a reality, and it will immediately show you how terrible that idea would be. So let's go ahead and do it.
Absolutely.
It does seem to be the way.
And
Let's just try and reboot with these.
And that's it. And it's essentially a recasting show. We're not obviously making it a joke. Like, we're not going to put the Muppets in with one actor, which would be fantastic, which you see online on Twitter. But this is the premise of this is that everyone wants to do it now. I'm tempted as well. The concept is we take the cast, we literally just recast them modern day. We pick actors. We'll explain why, but the core of it is we're just having fun. We don't genuinely want to see these films rebooted. I hope not. I really don't want to. But we've put a little bit of effort into putting in who we think would do it and who could do a good job. So please do comment with who you would cast in the Phantom Menace. And I guess it's worth saying, why aren't you doing all the prequels? Well, we are. We're doing them weekly. So next Monday will be Attack of the Clones on its 20th anniversary. I don't know if that's an insult or not. Is it an insult to say it's its 20th anniversary? By the way, we're just going to sort of half reboot it. It tended to be like that. But, yeah.
Okay, I guess we move on to the socials then, just so that kind of moving on. We want to see what you would do if you're in our situation. We want to see who you would cast in the Phantom Menace. So please write that immediately down in the comments. We want to see your list. We want to see your in-depth analysis on our picks as well and who you would have in that place. So please go do that down in the comments below. Also like, share, subscribe, all of the normal stuff on that as well. Also, keep an eye out on our social medias because we'll be telling you when the other episodes are going to be coming out of this. Obviously, we're going through episodes 1, 2, and 3. So please go follow us on Twitter at cinema_savvy. Go onto Facebook, Cinema Savvy, and letterboxd.com/Cinema Savvy. And finally, go into the link in the description and pick up a t-shirt or a jumper from TeePublic. They are so warm. I cannot even describe how warm they are and comfortable. So go and pick up a t-shirt there.
Definitely. And I think with this, I guess it's worth explaining the concept for this show. So as I explained, the way it would work normally, we have a list of 100 films, a master list. I'm pretty sure that was something since Star Wars once. I don't know. Bit like in the Clone Wars when they've got all those like Jedi younglings for some reason they're named and shamed and they get stolen. Dave's laughing. And the goal is that normally a randomizer will come in and it will pick on one of these 100. And this list was very carefully curated by us, a blend of musicals, every genre. I don't know why it's French said musicals. Yes, they're a part of it, but like rom-coms, musicals, franchises, dramas, classic old age Hollywoods, modern day action, thriller, adventures, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, last year we did the very first one with Pulp Fiction, but now we're allowed to sort of do these again. And I think it is worth adding with that, we didn't just magically land on the prequels. We have chosen to do these, bringing this show back for this year. Across Star Wars month, obviously it is Star Wars month by the time this video's gone up. We've had our top 10 Star Wars film ranking video out, which I really hope you've watched and enjoyed and got angry at and got excited at. There's so much happening in that video. Please do check it out. And we've got a lot more Star Wars stuff on the way as the core of this, but we're building to Kenobi, May the 27th. We've got a lot of other videos in the meantime, aside from Reboots from Hell. And we'll have all those details in the descriptions. And of course, there is Star Wars Celebration this year. We won't be there in person, but with a development, there may be somebody there. So do keep an eye on those socials, and hopefully we can get some actual good coverage on there too. But with that in mind, let's talk Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And you might be wondering, are we going to recast the entire film? The answer to that is no, because we all listen, I would love to recast the two people that were commentating on the pod race, but we're not going that extreme. This is going to be one where we have a core cast. We have 10 actors, 10 characters, and we also have a new director and a new composer who will do this for us. So I'm just going to bring them up on the screen for you to have a look at home. And, we're going to be recasting Anakin, Padme, Sabe, Shmi Skywalker, C-3PO, Darth Maul, Senator Palpatine, Jar Jar Binks, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And as I said, director and composer. And you might be thinking, why these 10? Why not Yoda? Why not Mace Windu? We've got to have some people for Attack of the Clones. So there's going to be a carryover. And it means that, we're staggering these so there's not too many being done on one video. And also, we're not here for 6 hours. As much fun as it could be, we really don't have that much spare time. And with that being said, I think we'll be all ready to go. I mean, one thing worth adding, we all know each other's picks. We've shared those lists with one another. That should help speed things up in an immediate shock. But any observations people want to make, of course we can. And we're going to start with director. And I'm going to actually jump to Dave, because you've been very quiet so far. Dave, who is going to be directing your reboot of The Phantom Menace?
So my director for The Phantom Menace will be the one and only John Watts. Having come from the Spider-Man films and rocketing through those for the Marvel Universe, or Sony/Marvel Universe, I think he's put himself up there now in terms of a director who knows how to do action set pieces, but not only action set pieces, also films encompassing a large cast, sort of a large amount of people that he wants to get across, and also have the story points that you're going to get across with each character as well. So I think he's done really well in asserting himself with that. So he was my immediate choice. He was the first one that came to mind when I thought of who I'd like to see reboot this before anybody else. I didn't have to look at other pictures. That was just John Watts would be my initial pick of who I'd like to jump into the Phantom Menace.
Excellent. And Tate, what do you think on that one as well?
Yeah, that's a solid pick, actually. Someone who can also work very well with younger actors and stuff like that. Someone who has that kind of sense of adventure kind of thrown into their films and stuff like that. I think that's a fantastic pick, actually, for director. No, I think you've nailed it with that one.
Yeah, it's really good you mentioned the actor stuff as well. And I think, I mean, this isn't real, but, we've got the recent news is that he's passed on Fantastic Four because he said he's burnt out from a comic book film. So get him in sci-fi. And, I respect that. As much as I love directors to stick to franchises and whatnot, I really actually do respect that. But I think it's a solid pick. Great pick to get started off. Like I said, he's done a trilogy of kinds, just not Star Wars trilogy. But segueing into the next one, I'll go through mine. So the order we'll do, I've only just decided this. We'll do Dave, me, Tate. So we'll get to end each round on Tate. That's a really weird halfway clockwise thing. But I've gone for a pair of maybe safe hands. There's a bit of Star Wars history. I've gone for Bryce Dallas Howard. Now, we all know that she's done some fantastic work on The Mandalorian. She's been in the Book of Boba Fett. She's now directing documentaries. And to me, this was quite an easy pick because I believe she will get a Star Wars project to herself, whether it's a film, whether it's a TV series like Deborah Child's doing with Kenobi. But I think Bryce is a fantastic director from what we've seen. And if I want to get sort of not nostalgic, but there's the famous story that Ron Howard was offered to direct the prequels and he declines. So how fitting would it be for his daughter to pick up the mantle? But that's who I went for, was a no-brainer for me.
Well, yeah, she's been absolutely fantastic with directing both in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. So once again, she knows the universe. She's already integrated into there and stuff like that. So that's it's a safe pick, I'd say. I think it's one that is guaranteed to work. There's no risks being taken there, but that's not always a bad thing when you're kind of picking a director and stuff like that. So I think she would work really well.
Does feel like she's being totally groomed for a feature Star Wars debut, and she's had no bad episodes when she's done Mandalorian as well. It's not you've seen one go, oh, that's not quite what I expect. It's like you said, she knows the world so well. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she's been in enough big movies as well to have picked up from directors she's learned from. So she's learning a craft. She's never gone out there and just kind of put herself out there. I'm going to direct because I'm Bryce Dallas Howard. She's learned her craft over many, many years. So yeah, I think it's a really great pick.
So my pick, I've gone with something slightly not left field because I'd say that this director fits definitely the sci-fi mold and definitely the world building mold. Now I'm going to be on all of these episodes, so I I'm picking this director as my first film, he may not be the same director throughout all of the films. I think he's the best fit for a first film Star Wars film, and that is Joseph Kosinski, because from his films that he's done so far and the films that have been slated for him to be released, he's just built up such a good repertoire with sci-fi and with action. I'm looking at films like Tron, where he was able to basically, Tron Legacy, to rebuild the entire Tron universe and kind of bring it from its ashes. And also films like Oblivion, where he's kind of dealt with heavy kind of levels of sci-fi, brilliant visuals kind of brought in and stuff like that he's able to direct. And he's now got Top Gun Maverick coming out this year, which a lot of people are saying is going to be fantastic. Looking at some of the footage from the film, I think he would bring a different angle to Star Wars, which maybe you'd need for those prequel films.
I think he'd cast Tom Cruise and would actually get a real-life pod race.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't do it unless he could. Yeah. Not doing it unless it's an actual real pod on Tatooine.
But just imagine the visuals just put into the from what we've seen from the trailers so far, put into like a pod race. Just imagine that, and then just have that with the world building experience that he's got as well.
I think it's solid. I mean, I love Tron Legacy, so I don't even need to say anything more than that. It's one of my favorite films, if I'm being absolutely honest, and especially for world building. So 100%, I'd want to see him do a Star Wars film, regardless.
I think just when you go through and like it's this, especially Oblivion, I think is such a well composed sci-fi movie. You couldn't put it in the Star Wars bracket, but it's in that. You could look at the way they've built the world and the scenes that they put together and what they had on that, and yeah, absolutely would fit into the galaxy without any problems at all. I think it'd be an amazing pick for a director. I really do.
No, definitely. And that being the directors in mind, so it's worth adding. As this is only the second ever time we've done this, there may be some not teething problems, but we're trying to do this where we're not going to be bogged down for 3-4 hours like last time. So everybody at home, comment along with us, comment the directors you'd love to see. We will reply to those comments. But the pacing of this, maybe one day we'll have an all-round roundtable on who would love to see direct Star Wars films. That would be a fantastic discussion. But this is very much picking these for you. So if it does feel quick at home to people, again, we are working on this being a new show with a new format. And with that lovely segue in mind, Dave, who do you have for your composer?
I've gone really easy when I came to a composer for Star Wars. There was people out there I thought, well, maybe I could go and pick someone out there who I think, oh, that could be a really crazy pick. And then, no, I just totally went safe hands. And I went for Kevin Keiner as my director, my composer, sorry, I'd be terrible director, composer of Episode 1. And the sole reason for this is because of his work on the Clone Wars. And maybe not early Clone Wars, not when they were doing they brought the movie out and it was all guitars and trying to make a different sound. But he built himself this reputation as the series went on, as we've certainly got into sort of 4, 5, 6, and certainly the last series that we had on Disney Plus was just exceptional work. He was very, very good at bringing in the Williams themes, but also built his own sound around Star Wars. So you knew when you were hearing Kevin Kiner's score against the other stuff you would hear in Star Wars, where you'd want to have a little bit of Williams going through it. And I just think if you were coming to a movie now, although it doesn't seem to have been let loose on any movies, it's just like, you can stay with the animated stuff. You're right over there. I think it would be a really interesting choice to give him a movie, and a movie he would pick really well, I think, would be Episode 1. It gives him a brand new start at the very beginning of the saga, and he's going off on his own journey. I think it would be a really nice pick for that. But again, completely safe hands. I totally bottled the choice.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I think you said it. As his career's progressed and the series progressed, his scores, I think by the time you get to that finale, Clone Wars, especially Ahsoka's arc, like people were like going out listening to that soundtrack. I don't think people have done that with Clone Wars fully before, and I think he's overdue a Star Wars project in live action at least. We sort of joked about this before the stream, but why hasn't he done one yet? It's really odd.
It's the kind of simple conversion that would happen with kind of, especially with like Filoni, what you've seen with him coming across and stuff like that. You'd expect that as well, kind of from the music department side of things and stuff like that, especially with kind of, I wasn't the biggest fan of Clone Wars. I've only seen half the episodes. From what I've seen, the music was definitely something that did stand out to me as something that was very, very good. And you just listen to it and you go, that's Star Warsy. You can tell it's got different kind of to the main kind of films and stuff like that, but it's still Star Wars. So yeah, it's a good pick.
No, definitely. And speaking of easy decisions, I probably took the easiest one here. If I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. I went for Michael Giacchino. I mean, listen, I don't even need to justify his work, but we can all joke about him being like the next John Williams. He took over Jurassic World, I guess his films are. He, of course, did Rogue One, so he's already been in Star Wars. He's owned Pixar and Marvel. He's one of the best working composers today. Probably he's in my top 4 of all time, and I just think Rogue One is such an outstanding soundtrack. Now, is it because I rewatched it recently? I've been listening to the extended edition, which for some reason has only just come out in 2022. Maybe, but I just love him as a composer. I think, and he has so much fun with his projects. Like when you look at like certain composers, I don't want to sort of hate on him. It's really unfair, but Michael Giacchino is the kind of guy you want on a film because he's looking forward to seeing that film as a fan, let alone composing it. And that's the kind of person I want doing with Star Wars. So I'll put my hands up. I've took the easiest possible route, but to me, it's the correct route.
I have Your Father Would Be Proud as one of my first songs on my movie scores playlist. So it's pretty simple choice. Like the stuff that he did, especially with Star Wars and stuff like that. Of course, he's got a massive back catalogue and stuff like that. But what he's done specifically with Star Wars has been so fantastic. And some of the scenes in Rogue One, where he's already had experience with Star Wars, would not be the same without the score. So straight away, it's like, yeah, of course. It was on my short list, but I wanted to go with something that was outside of Star Wars for my pick.
And I think you're right. He's the man who's getting the baton passed to him as the next big composer across movies. It seems when Williams is starting to now, obviously, Williams was 90, 91, 92 now. So sorry, John, give you a couple extra years. But yeah, so he's certainly been passed that baton of like you're going to probably be the next big thing for like Spielberg, and people are going to want you on their films. And this is the man, you're right. Like Rogue One, he got 8 weeks to write that and write that score and record it for the movie, and to put that score together in that short amount of time. Like he had that in his head for a long time that you could go to the studio, being given a Star Wars movie, and this is how I wanted to sound. He already knew the world he was going into and was ready for it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a great pick, and why wouldn't you want him?
So with my pick, I went for someone with experience. I wanted someone who was experienced. I wanted someone also with that Disney tie-in. And the reason why is because the prequels, when they were made, were not tied down to Disney. They didn't have that connection. And now we do have that connection. I feel like you may as well use it. Use a composer who is well experienced and well kind of vetted by Disney first before they would get their role and kind of get their ability to be able to do the score. And I've gone with Alan Silvestri. And the reason why I've gone with Alan Silvestri is not only because of his scores that he's done with Marvel and with Avengers and all of that stuff, which has been absolutely fantastic all the way through. I'm going with him for the other work that he's done, because he's done such a wide range of work. When I first thought, okay, Alan Silvestri, that could be a pick, I thought, okay, immediately straight to the Marvel stuff. But I didn't think of stuff that he's also done, like Predator films, the Back to the Future films. He's done like stuff all over the place. He did Ready Player One. He did just literally, you pick a film genre and he's probably gone and done it. Do people know that he did the Mummy films and the music for the Mummy films? Probably not. Like, do people know he did films like Contact, like deep sci-fi and stuff like that? He did like Forrest Gump. He's done so much. Like, there's such a big catalog. Like, you're scrolling for so long to get all the way down through all of his catalog. He's got such a good understanding of music, especially put to film. So having that experience coming into Star Wars and stuff like that, I think all of that knowledge going in would be just fantastic, especially for this kind of episode 1 big grand introduction into kind of a new trilogy.
I don't think you can go wrong with him. It's just he's a really safe pair of hands. He knows the companies, and I think as well his track record for itself with other IPs that own their own film scores.
And yeah, I mean, when we first got this list off, George, of who we had to pick as like which areas we were going to pick from the film, Silvestri was literally one of the first names that I thought for my composer before I went, oh no, I'm going to go safe and play it that way. But I mean, Silvestri has this thing. I mean, this man knows how to write a theme as well. It's not like just you write this great thing. I mean, do you think the Avengers theme, that just plays in your head. You'll never forget that. Back to the Future, I didn't even think about, like you've just said, never even thought about him being that, but you look at those films and just the slight themes he had for Marty and Doc all the way through, just those tiny little themes that he had in some parts, absolutely amazing. I think that's an incredible choice.
No, definitely, and that's going to round out sort of not phase one, but that is the direction of the composed section. So we're going to move into cast now for everybody at home, and obviously, with this being the Phantom Menace, we've got some not big names as such, but we've got some big characters to cast, and the photo at the beginnings, the photo we're going to do them, and so we're going to kickstart. We've each cast somebody for Anakin. Now, obviously, I guess it's worth saying before the casting of Anakin Skywalker is a very intriguing one. Of people of all ages that we've picked between us in that discussion. So we'll Dave, we'll kickstart with you, and then we'll each have a chat after each of us have done ours like we've done already.
So my choice for Anakin Skywalker, I'll go straight with his name. It's Walker Scobell. For people who don't know Walker Scobell, he's the child actor at the moment. He's just done the Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds, playing the young Ryan Reynolds. He's also going to be Disney's Percy Jackson when they do the Lightning Thief reboot series or movie that they're doing. And this was one of the picks I found toughest because the fact you're only looking for an actor for this one film as well, that he is going to change by the next movie. It's not going to be the same actor if we're taking timelines as being sort of set the same way as well, where it will be an older Anakin when we get to it, and it's going to be set only 3 or 4 years after the last film was done. So it was hard, and I think you get these eras where you get a child actor that's quite well known, gets a lot of the roles. Like you got it for the girl who was in Matilda, whose name always escapes me. But yeah, you get these child actors who are in a lot of movies at one time. So yeah, I found this one quite tough. But if you've seen the Adam Project, which for a Netflix movie is quite bizarre, it's really good. It was a really great sci-fi movie, and he played the part of being a young Ryan Reynolds really well. I'm not saying I would want Ryan Reynolds to be my older Anakin, although I do think that would be awesome. Van Wilder, party liaison, Jedi Council member, not quite. And I just think it could be an epic. I think he'd be really good at taking up that part of that. And look, the hatred that the original Anakin kind of got, Jake Lloyd did not do well from Star Wars, and maybe that was the bad pick for the actor with some of the others that were available at the time, but I think Walker Scobell will be an excellent choice to start and be that role for this movie.
So I've not seen the Netflix from it and I've heard and I'm just saying, I've got a long list. I've heard really good stuff about that film, and it seems like one of the few genuinely decent Netflix ones. But for me, I read those Percy Jackson books growing up. I am very excited to see, well, not who they've cast. They have cast somebody. And that's when they're going to, because if they get Percy Jackson right, sorry to slide out the chat, that will be as big as Harry Potter but on TV if they get that right.
No, I agree with that. And I haven't seen the Adam Project as well, but I have heard very, very good things about it. So I think it's a good pick. My only question is, because a lot of people were, and this is, when we get around to my picks, this is where I try and address this. Is it right to go young again with Anakin?
It depends on the other person, and I guess, which we'll get to in a bit. But the Jake Lloyd thing, I'm going to say this because, Tayte, you were the same age as me. I don't know if you were as in Star. I can't remember how big you were in the prequels.
I was quite into Star Wars when I was younger and stuff like that. But
Jake Lloyd was like a hero to our age group, because we were like toddlers, 3-4 when that film came out. So I remember at primary school, Anakin was like the Don. And then we got the cooler Anakin when, we got episode 3, didn't we? We got fucking Darth Vader, and he became.
Please tell me you didn't use the sand pickup line on anyone in school.
Oh, God, no, not at all. I'd actually just run around and pretend to be Tusken Raider at primary school. That was my selling point. No, it's just, I think Jake Lloyd, there was something about being the age we were, and I understood as I got older how older people were about an 8-year-old being Anakin. And obviously, the real life side of it, it's. I think whatever actor in the world was cast in that role was never going to. I'm not going to tangent about Star Wars fans, but we know what a lot of them are capable of. And Hayden had the same treatment until 2017, and now they all pretend that he never got abused and it's all hunky dory, which isn't the case. So sorry to divert to that. But if I'm going to talk about my Anakin, I've gone slightly older. Now, this is like one of you mentioned, apologies, I forgot which one to mention. Like, you get eras of young actors' phases. I've gone for someone who I think is going to stick around as an adult actor. So I've gone for Noah Jupe, because he has been in some incredible films at a very early age. I guess the big one's probably been Quiet Place for a lot of people, but to me it was Ford v Ferrari and Honey Boy. I saw both of them in the space of a week at the London Film Festival, and I thought this is a talent here. He's about 17, 18, a little bit older, but I wanted someone not like kid young, but mid to late teens, or could play mid teens, because I just think it makes it a little easier in terms of the Padme stuff without it being so creepy as the years go by. So I went with Noah Jupe purely on that. Again, it's like you do. It's really hard of a younger actor because there is like a very limited pool, and it would be too easy for us all to say, get an unknown, and that's what obviously Lucas did do. Well, Jake Lloyd wasn't. He did an amazing Christmas film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Jingle all the way. Do you see it? But yeah, sorry, that's my pick.
No, it's a very good pick. I've seen him in a few things now, and he's always seemed like a very good child actor. And it usually stands. Normally, when you see child actors in film, it stands out how bad they are, and it's very, very difficult to judge people based on that. But when you don't have to comment on that during a film, that's usually a good kind of telltale sign. And from all of the films, I've not had anything massively positive to say about him. I've never had anything negative to say about like any of his performances. That must be he's doing something good. Just kind of getting on with his work and stuff like that, and being just kind of acting the role, not doing anything overly exaggerated, not doing anything kind of out of character or anything like that, but just being an actor.
You're all right. It comes back that it's just so hard to look at the child roles and think, well, the actor they're going to become. You have to kind of look at them for what they're doing now. And Tayte just said it. It's a lot of them. You kind of go on what they don't do more than what they do, how they are in the background of scenes, how they interact with adult characters, even if they're not the focus of the scene. And so, yeah, I think he's a solid choice as well, George.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've gone even older. I'm just going to straight up say it's Finn Wolfhard, and this is because I'm trying to address something in there about the kind of culture that Star Wars kind of had around the young child actors in this film originally around. I think Finn Wolfhard, he's kind of known in pop culture now because of Stranger Things, because of what he did there. And because of that, I think as a young actor, he can kind of any criticism or anything like that does come from having this role, because I feel like doesn't matter who's going to have this role, there will always be criticism because it's one of the most well-known characters of all time. It's Darth Vader, but younger. How are you meant to portray that role? I feel like he's got a twinge of darkness already sewn into him. And when you dig down into what kind of young Annie's character is meant to be, he's a street racer who basically earns his wage as a slave and has to kind of keep his mum and live with him. And in my ideal Star Wars kind of like growing up in kind of Phantom Menace universe, I want him to be kind of like that rough cut diamond, like that kind of, we talk about when we watch Phantom Menace, the midichlorians and stuff like that, and it being like kind of it's a young Anakin, like you don't want to go into the Mary Sue kind of territory, but I wouldn't mind drifting into it with a Finn Wolfhard kind of character, because it would be like, yeah, he can do everything, but he's almost not out of control, but he's a little bit older, he's a little bit grungier, a little bit moodier, and he's already got that edge to him. I think that would work with a character, especially when we go on to cast in Attack of the Clones as who I've got as my older version of him. I think it would work very well moving forwards if they went in that direction.
I think he's a solid choice. I mean, you know what you're going to get. Will be 4 seasons in the same day as Kenobi. Let's get some Strange Things marketing in, because who's looking forward to Strange Things over Obi-Wan Kenobi? Here's that dust ball going in the distance. No, it's a solid choice, and I think this is where the Anakin Padme stuff comes down to, isn't it? It's getting that gap and then seeing what happens in Attack of the Clones onwards.
And I think it would be really interesting for him to play that character, because very much the movies he's been in so far, they have very much, let's not put it out there, in Ghostbusters Afterlife, he's pretty much playing the character from Stranger Things. There's not much between those characters, but I do think he's someone who could age up or down as well from his look. He doesn't have like a distinct, you wouldn't look at him now and go, he's definitely that age. Obviously, they will be playing the kids that are playing in Stranger Things right now, but he doesn't have that. Like, doesn't have an age look about him, so I think it's really a really good choice from there to say. I'd love to see him do something different, to be given an actual character portray rather than Finn Wolfhard on screen as well. So I think it's a really solid choice.
And he looks like a young Adam Driver, so I guess you've got the family genes going as well.
I did genuinely think of that. I think if we're combining kind of the prequels
Nice.
and then knowing that the sequels are coming on later on, you'd be like, okay, you could easily see that link between them.
Skywalker blood.
And speaking of the bloodline, let's move into the mother of who will be the Skywalker twins, Padme Amidala. Dave, who have you gone for yours?
I've gone with the pick of Emilia Jones, probably known to most people from Coda, the Oscar-winning film from 2022. It came out in 2021 on Apple, which is just an incredible film, and everyone should see it. Before we go any further, just go watch Coda because it's 100%. Exceptional. Yeah, it isn't just broke me, but it's amazing. But yeah, she's sort of, I think she's age appropriate. She's got that sort of look about her. Even when I look at the photos from Coda, I think she looks very much like she would be able to fit in that role really well, to kind of disappear behind the character of Padme. And also, our dad is Aled Jones, so he could sing some of the songs in the soundtrack as well, which I think would be amazing. So that would be cool. He walked in the air for the Duel of Fates. It would be incredible for him to come on board to support his daughter. So honestly, I picked that mostly because Aled Jones. But no, I do think she would be a solid pick for Padme. I think the way she could hold herself, I think she, in being the speaking character in that movie in Coda, she maybe propelled herself higher than she probably would have got in many, if she'd gone to another mainstream film and tried to put herself out there, where she might have been typecast as that teenager again and not stood out as much as she did. But I thought she did such a good job in this that she could very well carry it off. And her dad singing Duel of Fates would be awesome.
I mean, Coda is exceptional. Listen, it won Best Film, and we're glad it won Best Film. I think we're going to add that part too, but I can see it as well, and especially with the whole Padme, she's British as well. I know that Natalie Portman's not, but the favorite thing about Phantom Menace is the when she's got the ridiculously British accent when it becomes Keira Knightley. But I think it's solid, and when you pair up the couples as well, it's got to look right. I know that sounds really unfair, but again, you're thinking long term. There's a 10-year jump in between 1 and 2, and all that kind of stuff. You've got to get this castings right, and I think she's solid as well. And you know what? She will end up doing a franchise. I guarantee people at some point. Maybe it'll be the Snowman 3. Who knows?
Well, I was going to say she's already tied into she's tied into Netflix Lock and Key, isn't she? She was part of that series.
Yes,
That's still going.
So she's done.
Netflix are losing subs, so they're probably going to cancel that like all the others.
She's got that ability to be able to act across different genres and stuff like that. I think she'd be a fantastic pick for this. I think she also fits in with your choice for Anakin as well. You can see it would work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just my final point on that is go watch Coda. It's fantastic.
Yes, do.
Free 6-month trial on PS5s. We're moving to Padme for mine. Now, I'm doing something a bit different. Don't worry, I've not regendered her. So, Padme in mine is being played by Joey King. I don't know if people are too familiar with it, but obviously a lot of people know from Dan.
I've seen the Kissing Booth movies.
I know about her, yeah. I know about her from the Kissing Booth movies.
Listen, my approach to this is very different, and without teasing next week's video, I mentioned I was going to do something different. I'm going to recast Padme in Attack of the Clones. So that's my big twist. So I've gone for that. I know Joey King's 22, but I've gone for that late teens, her and Anakin. Yes, there's still a couple years between them. It's not as creepy, but Attack of the Clones onwards, I'm going to have people a little bit older. So the main thing here, Joey King. Again, I've done it more so this being one film. And if you actually really break this down, Padme doesn't actually have... obviously, you get Tatooine and the final act, but really, she doesn't have as much screen time as people think. It really comes into it. Well, not much in the third one, but Attack of the Clones mainly, she's got screen time. So very safe, and I'll explain more on the next pick.
I disagree with this pick. I find her such an annoying actress, honestly, and I have seen I've seen the Kissing Booth 1, and I've seen people rip into the Kissing Booth 2 and 3, and she's been in other stuff. She's been in White House Down. I was going to say
and she's going to be in Bullet Train, which is one of my most anticipated films this year.
But from what I've seen from her, she just seems like such an annoying and whiny actor. And I don't know if that's because of the role that she's playing or anything like that, but I just find her just grating to watch on screen. It's like some scenes she overacts, some scenes she underacts. I don't think she's got any balance in there from what I've seen so far. It's the first disagreement we've had in this video, but that would genuinely be a reboot from hell if she was cast as Padme.
I can see it. I can absolutely see it. And as a person who's literally watched the Kissing Booth trilogy, just watch it. The other two are awful. Don't watch anything after the first one. I don't mind her as an actress. She's done. If you look at her IMDb, she's done so much for someone who's 22. She's done so many films already, and she did a series where she played the girl whose mother made her pretend to be sick, and they end up killing her. And I can't remember what's for. It was a story in America. She was actually really good in that. But I kind of see where Tayte's come from as well. She's not the best actress in the world, but then we're looking at Padme in this where she puts on silly voices when it talks about the things to the Padme and things like that. So she has to put silly voices on. It'll be great. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. Kissing Booth, go watch it.
I'm going with my pick straight away with a more mature actress. So I picked a more kind of mature older actor for Anakin. So I thought I'd go for a more mature actress for actress. I've gone with Olivia Cook. Who has been in so many different things. She's done so many different genres as well. I was first introduced to her in Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, where she plays a teenager dealing with cancer. And she is absolutely fantastic in that film. I cannot recommend that film enough. I think it was my 2017 film of the year, actually, on the channel. And then just watching her mature through different roles. She was recently in Ready Player One, where she was quite a prominent character in that. I think she would suit this role. She looks a lot younger than she actually is. So I feel like she would age and mature into the role very well. If I was to continue on with Finn Wolfhard as my Anakin, I think that they would work well as a relationship between them and stuff like that. But I think that she's that kind of actress who, even though she looks younger, she has a very mature approach to her performances. And I think that would carry quite well being regal in the role.
I think she's perfect. I mean, she's going to be the main character in House Dragon, right? The first Game of Thrones spin-off. And I love Ready Player One. She played Artemis in that. And I know that Charlie, who's on this channel, is a massive fan of hers as well. So I think that's a solid one. It's a lot better than mine. But again, mine's all the pseudo into what comes next.
What comes next? No, I think, again, I loved her. I haven't seen her much, but I did love her in Ready Player One, which for a film that's so far away from what the book is, that I love the Ready Player One book, and the film is very different the way it's played, certainly the way Artemis is in that book. So I think she played that really well for me not to overthink that while I was watching the movie and just followed that character. And yeah, absolutely. I think she's would be a good choice as well.
So with Anakin and Padme cast, we have a minor one. We're doing Sabe, who is obviously Keira Knightley, who is that one's a decoy. But who actually wasn't a decoy. So Dave, who have you cast as your decoy? It's going to be the easiest way.
So for my decoy, my Sabe, I've gone with someone who seems to be a master of disguise, who could look like Egon Spengler. If she can look like Egon Spengler, she can look like any other actress she wants to be. So I've gone with McKenna Grace for my choice for Sabe. And literally I've gone with this because that girl that you see in the picture in front of you looked like Egon in Ghostbusters. Like, that picture, you could put them side by side with how she looked. And she's just able to disappear into the makeup and the hair that they gave her. So literally it was a very simple, straightforward. I looked at her as someone who could look and behave like someone I've knocked over on my desk. No, that's sorry if you heard a noise. So yeah, I think she could just fit in the role really well. She's not quite the biggest name out there, so I think she'd be able to like Keira Knightley wasn't when she did the role as well, so she'd quite happily, I think, sit in the background as well and just be the queen for those scenes that she needed to be. So yeah, that was my only reason for that choice, that I think she'd be able to really blend in well.
I mean, I she's my favorite character in Ghostbusters. I know you're on that review for that one, but I didn't think I would enjoy that film as much as I did, and it's my favorite Ghostbusters film. I mean, I don't hold the others in such high regard, so crucify me for that. But I think she was amazing, and you're right. When I saw photos of her in real life, I was like, how on earth did they get her to like Spengler when they did? And it wasn't like makeup or like prosthetics; it was naturally done to look like that, which completely blew my mind.
I still haven't seen Ghostbusters That 5, so I can't really comment on this because I don't know her as an actress. But yeah,
that's fine. I mean, mine's someone that we all know as an actress. So my choice for Sabe is Millie Bobby Brown. Now, hear me out. This would have been my choice for Padme, but it's far too easy. And you know what made me think? A lot of people have Millie Bobby Brown in this let her play young Leia sort of vibe. You see that a lot online. Let her be young Leia. And I'm like, no, Strange Things cast needs to stop. Let them get careers. Stop telling them to be in everything. No offense to them, they're very good young actors. But what made me think is sort of what I said about Joey King is that really the Queen is. You look at all that classic imagery of this film. It's all the Queen, all the costumes, designs, the performances, the accent, everything. You put Millie Bobby Brown in as the decoy, and when you actually get the twist, you've got something that obviously it's a reboot, fine, but you have an actual, when Anakin turns his head and he looks traumatized that he now fancies a queen, not a servant. It's all for that twist moment. So maybe I'm subverting someone's expectations, but this ends the crusade of recast Princess Leia. No, let's not. And yeah, it's Millie Bobby Brown, and she's British too. So that's my polite, maybe too big to do the role, but I don't care.
I was going to say, well-seasoned British actress, could be a decoy. It sounds like Keira Knightley, not going to lie.
In a period film, because it is a long time ago.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I really like Millie Bobby Brown. I think I really enjoyed Enola Holmes. I don't know if it's a big hit, but I really quite enjoyed it and look forward to the second one. I think she's a fine actress. She would fit into that role really well. But yeah, so yeah, decent choice.
So I spent 5 minutes searching up who looks like Olivia Cook, and I got Ella Purnell.
Excellent.
To be fair to her, she has a decent category of films behind her and stuff like that. Apparently, Yellow Jackets is meant to be very good.
Oh, I've not seen it. I've heard good stuff.
I've
TV
heard
show,
very
right?
good stuff about it. Yeah. Also, she was in Miss Peregrine's. That's the only thing I've seen her in. I think maybe she was also in Kick-Ass 2 as well. She's meant to be in the new Fallout series as well. So she's done loads of acting. She's a British actress. She kind of looks like Olivia Cook. I literally spent about 5-10 minutes searching up who looks like her, and I was like, oh, I mean, she looks like a young Olivia Wilde, but at the same time, like, it works. So
I've not seen anything of her. Oh, no, I've seen Army of Dead. Sorry, I'm on her wiki now. I've seen Army of Dead. That's all I can say. Don't know who played in it.
I've seen that picture that we've just put up there of her. So that, yeah, she does look quite like your first choice. So we'll go with that. Yeah, cool.
with some of these, especially with a decoy, it's like you're a decoy.
I know. Listen, if people are asking why is she here, I needed that OCD of getting the grid. That I actually messaged you both yesterday saying that
you needed the OCD. I needed a 5-minute web search on who looks like Olivia Cook.
Because we can't have the image of a row of 5 and a row of 4 and then a 2. My head won't cope. So yeah, that's more for me. Again, that's a quick one. This is why we're not taking too long with these. And speaking of another character, one who isn't irrelevant, but she's only given a handful of scenes. I almost did the Claire Glass voice then. No, not Face It, Your Mother Is Dead. It's Shmi Skywalker. The biggest. This is something really off point, but I never knew this as a kid. Is that I'm trying to imagine like me from 1977, if I was around then, going to the Phantom Menace. And they're telling me that Anakin's an only child. There was never anybody else. I'd be like, hold on, he had an uncle, as in Luke did. Obviously, they address it thanks to Clay Claris, who just bought and married his slave. I don't know really what happened there, but yeah, really tangent point. Shmi Skywalker. Dave, who have you cast?
I've gone with Emily Blunt as my Shmi Skywalker, and my reasoning will probably come out more a little bit later on down this chat as to why I picked her. But I think as an actress, really solid, is very good genre wise, where she doesn't really kind of, although she's stayed away from sort of the superhero franchise, which I said she's not interested in, but she's done science fiction, she's done horror, she's done flat out comedies. So she's a very well versed actress, but that wasn't the main reason I picked her, and we'll get to that a little bit later.
Listen, she's the Full Metal Bitch is the nickname. She has an Edge of Tomorrow. That's how incredible she did that film. Pregnant, I'm going to add, wearing that costume, those action set pieces. This is Shmi Skog. She'd never be a slave. She'd probably massacre Watto if she wanted to.
No, it's a good pick. She's got that motherly quality to her, and I don't know whether that not from
Nanny McPhee,
obviously,
not Nanny McPhee. Sorry,
from
Emma Thompson.
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Sorry, I got the wrong.
That's
nanny,
exactly what I was thinking. No, as soon as I saw that pick, I thought Disney Link. Okay, and yeah, I could easily see her fitting into that role.
I mean, I've gone for someone that's not as motherly. In fact, she's most known for playing an incestuous mother. I've got Lena Headey. Now, listen, Shmi Skywalker. I really like Shmi in these films. Penelope August plays her. I know we didn't get much for an episode 2, but get a couple of lines, and it's really sad. But even as I'm older, I get a little bit emotional. Anakin walking away, and I just think Lena Headey just. If you're going to be raising someone that's going to become a psychopath, I know the whole concept is you've got this like angel mother type figure, but ultimately you need a bit of that dark side, dark streak in them. So, you know, what, Lena Headey, she would terrify Watto, she would terrify the other slaves, and she'd protect her son. So, really easy, boring pick, but she's only got a couple of scenes in this film.
Yeah, I was debating between my pick and Lena Headey. I'm not going to lie, and it was kind of I was teetering over the edge between the two of them. But she kind of fits exactly the same role as what I would go for in a mother and stuff like that. And I wanted a darker edge, and I think the darker edge is almost needed. That kind of ability to just snap around, give a look, and then kind of have that control over people and stuff like that. That you need built into Anakin. Otherwise, there's absolutely no link between him and his mother.
I think it's a perfectly solid pick as well. Yeah, I really like the thought of that darkness behind her as well, because let's think how those midichlorians got there. But it's I think it's just one of those things. I think she would portray that really well. Especially the loss, I think, more of losing her son being taken from her, as if although she let it happen, like they're not really wanting him to go off and become a Jedi. She just doesn't want to go off pod racing, so letting him go off to another planet to become some warrior. I think she would portray that really well.
So, I once again went onto Google, did a search, who kind of looks like Finn Wolfhard's mum. For this one,
you had to search Finn Wolfhard's mum. This was a few seconds.
No, for me, it genuinely was straight away down to two people. As soon as I cast Finn Wolfhard, it was down to either Lena Headey or it was Eva Green, and I went with Eva Green. She has that mean streak to her. She really does. And I feel like she could also play that kind of softer role if needed and stuff like that. She has been quite motherly in some of her roles and stuff like that. I think she's just a fantastic actress. And she would absolutely just chew up the scenery of every scene she would be put in. So that's why I picked her.
Listen, I love Eva Green, so I'm just not going to say anything else. That's me done. I want anything from him.
No, I mean, let's just look. I'm in the middle of watching the Bond movies at the minute, all of them. They're on Amazon Prime, and I can't wait to get Casino Royale to spend some time with Eva Green again, because she is fantastic in that. She would be an amazing Shmi Skywalker, and yeah, let's just see more of Eva Green anytime, any day.
Also, it's going to say between Eva Green and Lena Headey, they both kind of look like they would be Finn Wolfhard's mum. Like
they've both been in 300.
They have both been in 300.
I just thought. Did anyone watch the second 300?
Star Wars, directed by Zack Snyder.
Don't get them started.
Now with even more slow-mo and green screen.
It's 4 hours long, and it's a square.
In slow motion.
The slow motion pod race would be incredible.
But why is it in black and white? It's a lightsaber duel. Shut up. It's the way they intended it. How dare you say otherwise? Oh, yeah.
Cuts to 4-3 when it gets to Qui-Gon getting stabbed through the middle. Just fun and
it'd be like, they didn't chop Darth Maul off. They like chopped his head off, cut his arms off, did it all in Super Slam. It's like, look at him now. Now this is a real director. Sorry.
Then the Flash comes in and touches him inappropriately. It'll be fine.
No, Lady Gaga comes and starts singing "Shallow," and he just lobs a chair at her instead. It's gonna happen.
Moving on.
Did anyone cast Amber Heard as the Doodoo? No, that's fine.
No.
I've got as Qui-Gon Jinn. No, okay, no, I'll take that out. Sorry.
What psychopath? Not as Darth Maul.
Changing my
You
choice
can
to
leave
Darth
a Darth
Maul.
Maul.
Yeah.
Let's talk some more of the Phantom Menace. So if we're talking C-3PO, sorry.
Yeah.
Dave, who do we have first? This is a weird one, sorry, because it feels weird replacing Anthony Daniels, so I'm just going to say this before we even began.
Yeah, somewhere in the world, Anthony Daniels has just got a shutter down his back for some reason he doesn't know, and he's like, "What's gone on?" He's been replaced. His golden jacket's been taken from him. He has no idea what's going on, but he feels it. So yeah, my C-3PO choice. I've gone with SNL writer and sometimes actor John Mulaney, stand-up comedian, and I just think he would be an excellent pick. He's actually going to be the voice of, I believe, Chip in the new Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie coming out on Disney Plus on the 20th of May, which looks really fun. And just from a voice point of view, really, that was what I was more thinking of for 3PO, because certainly in this, it's not a physical performance. It's very much a voice performance. And going forward with 3PO, I think you don't really have to think that it's Anthony Daniels inside that suit. Really, we know it is Anthony. We know it's definitely you. He's told us a few times. But I just think for an actual voice to go with 3PO, I think he could do a really good job. He's got that. He's not British. He's an American actor and comedian, but I think he's got a very upper crusty voice about him, which I think would fit the role of 3PO really well. And I just find him highly amusing. So yeah, John Mulaney is my pick for C-3PO.
Now, I've not seen him in much, but off doing the photos for this, I did think like he's got the physique. Not the. I mean, we'll get to the question. Anyone's actors, if you plan yours being costume, all that actually matters. But mine's not. I'm just saying that mine's more. I want the voice.
Certainly for the like Jar Jar and 3PO were just based on voice alone for me.
No, definitely. And with that, I'm going to talk about RC3 very quickly. I've gone for someone very basic, very easy. Toby Jones. Obviously, everyone knows Toby Jones from something. Zola, Dobby, many more. I just need the voice. I'm not fussed about the man in the costume anymore. Maybe Anthony Daniels can do that part, just not speak, which is probably even more of an insult to him, actually. Now I've said that loud. But yeah, it's just British. He's playing a droid. You bring him in, job done, easy.
Yeah, I mean, same with my pick. Overly British voice actor Ben Whishaw plays Paddington.
Paddington.
He plays Paddington.
Would he do it in Paddington voice?
I feel like no, because I've seen him in Cloud Atlas where he does an overly British voice as one of the characters. I feel like he could also play the character as well. I think he could be the man in the suit. Just because he's got that acting background as well and stuff like that. He's got the physicality. He's quite stick thin, and I think he would work in that role as well. But it's just British voice actor. Pick one, and you've got yourself a C-3PO.
The man brought us Paddington 2, and he can have any role he likes for the joy of that movie.
I'm surprised he hasn't been involved in Star Wars yet as well. To be honest,
he's very British, isn't he? Don't give them ideas.
He's really British.
He's really British.
Now if he's not coming back as Q, which is like the other British thing, maybe there'll be a slot in the future.
I mean, all of the British actors are becoming droids now. I mean, we had I've forgotten his name now, who was the droid in Book of Boba Fett.
Moss from the IT crowd.
No, not Moss.
He was in Mandalorian.
I know he's in Mandalorian.
He was in Mandalorian first, yeah.
I'm thinking of
Matt Berry.
Matt Berry,
the greatest voice in the world.
Yes,
that was the weirdest role in the world, and it was so fantastic at the same time.
But all the British voice actors are heading across to Star Wars to play a droid of some sort, so I feel like he's going to come across at some point.
He'd make a great without talking about Cassian, but he'd make like a great rebel hierarchy, proper British.
I think personally, I think he would make a fantastic Thrawn, but that's a different topic of conversation.
Oh, nice.
Maybe Celebration. They'll have made it. It's rumored, not official.
If they're going to announce Thrawn, we know it's Pierce Brosnan already. We've seen the artwork. It's been around for years. Anyone hasn't seen that, please go out and check out the Thrawn artwork. That was a Star Wars Celebration.
I remember I was there. I was looking at them all. I was like, 2019. I just turned up. I was in the building. I was like, why is Pierce Brosnan blue? And why is he on the Star Wars post? I think I sent it to you and Phil. I was like, It's Pierce
Yeah.
Brosnan. And
It really is.
bonkers. I love the artist. The artist
Oh.
woke up that day and thought, you know what, I choose war. But speaking of war, the war in Star Wars, kind of styles about your villains, and Phantom Menace more so. We've got two to cast. Two there are. Beginning with Darth Maul. Dave, who do you have?
I found this one quite tough as well, trying to find an actor who would fit into that role of not only physicality, but someone who would look with that, like that dark, like really like a bad guy once run. I mean, a lot of people couldn't do that pain, but I still think you've got to have a certain like a face type to play that off. Like if I got painted like Darth Maul, I'd look like a potato that had been painted up like Darth Maul. Like that's not going to work. But for me, I picked Jason Statham as my Darth Maul. Not only because I think you probably wouldn't need a voice actor, because I think you sound amazing as Darth Maul. Just talk like that all the way through would be brilliant. Let's reveal ourselves. It'll be amazing. So I think he would look really good in the paint. I think he would be able to pull off action as well. I think, although he's of an age now, he's not exactly an unfit man. So I think he'd fit in that really well. He could reprise his handsome Rob days from the Italian Job remake. And I think that would be an amazing fit for me.
I saw this and loved it. I stood, and the thing, as you said, it's harder more because you've got to think about the makeup going on the face, and the big thing is he's already bald, which helps. But yeah, I think this is one of the hardest roles for me, if I'm being honest, to even consider. I didn't go with the whole logic of we'll get Clone Wars, we'll get that. We're here to talk about, he's essentially here for a stunt scene. So yeah, Statham can't go wrong. He's not been in Star Wars yet somehow too.
Yeah, the only issue I could see with him is the stunt side of things. That's literally the only thing, because you do need someone who's able to do kind of the flips and tricks and stuff like that and be able to kind of pull off that. I think he'd make a fantastic Sith Lord. I just don't know whether Maul's the correct Sith Lord.
Would you have The Rock as the Emperor with him? Like Vin Diesel's like absolutely like
Vin Diesel throws down the hood. About family.
Wow, after the Fast and Furious news.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen the Fast and Furious news this week, Vin Diesel's not in a very good position. Without segueing,
go on.
Let's talk Darth Maul. I went with somebody who keeps getting dubbed for James Bond, who I was a part of the James Bond hype. I've gone for Henry Golding. Now, I haven't seen Snake Eyes because everyone told me it's terrible, so I avoided it. But I did see trailers and I saw a lot of action. And then I went a bit with it. You know who played the original Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe in like the late noughties? I think it was Darth Maul. I should actually double check that. I'm pretty sure it was Ray Park. So that's more there on the fact that if I've not done my research, I'm going to humiliate myself for the world to see. But again, I just need somebody that he's just here to do some stunts. He's young, he's fit, he's athletic, and he'll work well with the people I've cast for the fight scene later on.
I am checking. Yeah, he did.
There you go. Now it looks smart.
There you go. Maybe
he's got a future. Maybe he's got a future playing Toad in the X-Men reboot.
I don't know if you know what happens to a Toad when it gets struck by lightning. I don't know if you've heard it. So.
I was going to say Golding's a good shout. Golding is a good shout, and he's also an actor who is in high demand as well. And I think just for a one-off role, I think this would be fantastic. I really do.
And as much as Snake Eyes didn't work, I think the action of Snake Eyes did. I think that was kind of publicized that, it's got some great action set pieces and he plays that really well. Just the rest of the movie built around those action set pieces is terrible. I think it'd be good for him to come into that and certainly is someone who's built and ready for an action role. Absolutely perfect.
Once again, I took the dumb approach of mine. I went action star. Who could I put in this role? And I actually went older. I decided to go older because I thought, you know what? I've seen him do so much over the years, just martial arts, action, and stuff like that. I thought Jean-Claude Van Damme would just be the absolute perfect choice for this. Because wax some makeup on him, and I think he'd just be fantastic. I think it would be just a very physical role, and that's what you want from Maul. You want that kind of physicality, and the first person I thought of was Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I looked at different people. I looked at various different people, various different stunt artists and stuff like that. I almost went with Rick English, who's been used in stunt work for years now. But I just went with Jean-Claude because I thought, do you know what? You need to stick a name on there as well. You want to draw the hype in. It's Jean-Claude Van Damme as Darth Maul. And that works. That immediately, you could put that on posters and stuff like that. So I thought Jean-Claude would be a great shout.
I really,
he'd want his name on front and center of that poster.
Oh, yeah.
Van Damme is Darth Maul in Star Wars Episode 1.
I'd love to see him with the
I love
makeup
Van
on
Damme.
just to see what he'd look like.
Mm.
Like, he has an earring. Would he like get Darth Maul with sunglasses on? Would that be the first time you get to see Maul like that? He went have yellow
First
contact
shot of him
lenses,
doing
just yellow
those
sunglasses.
really open splits while holding the lightsaber. It'd be incredible.
Hey, it'd be great
literally,
when
he'll
he
be
gets
holding the
chopped
lightsaber out
off.
like this. You know the scene where he extends 2 lightsabers? It'll be him extending 2 legs out doing the splits.
Oh, it'd be something. I don't know how we go on.
How do we move on from it?
We should try and cast the entire Expendables as Star Wars characters, and that would be absolutely incredible. I'd go for Sylvester Stallone as the Emperor. But just imagining him trying to shout.
Yeah, let's have Arnie as Shmi. Okay, what we got next? Have we got the other villain next?
We have. So at this point in time, you have Senator Palpatine, who does obviously go on to become the Emperor, a Chancellor before the Emperor, I guess we could say. And Dave, heading over to you, who have you got for your pick?
I've gone for my Palpatine. I've gone to Michael Fassbender. Now, Michael Fassbender, I think, is such a glorious actor. I think he's been underused since kind of the failure of the X-Men franchise. Kind of didn't it started off at such a high point. You had Inglourious Basterds as well come out as well, and he was so good and dark in that. I just think he could play the role of certainly the Chancellor part really well, like a really slimy kind of guy who's working his way in. I think he'd be perfect in that role. I think if Magneto and X-Men as well, certainly in the Days of Future Past and First Class, I think he was so good in those early X-Men movies. I think he's a character actor who could take that role and really make it his. And I think it's a really important role as well to the whole movie falling apart and not working. We look at this as Anakin's story, but I mean, you get the end of the saga now, and it's pretty much a Palpatine story all the way through, really, apart from a little bit in the original trilogy. So I think the casting of Palpatine is really, really important to how you then track that through. And I think he'd be a really good actor to take that role and carry on with it as well.
Michael Fassbender is one of the actors I've wanted in Star Wars for since Disney came out saying we're doing Star Wars, and he's never been in it yet. The Emperor, I'd love to see him as the politician type, but also I guess it's when you get that time jump to the future, I'd be intrigued by, because if you really think about it, Palpatine's not got much to do in this one, bar making an odd couple of comments and obviously doing the meme of a surprise to be sure a welcome one. But I always go to that scene in X-Men First Class, at the bar in Argentina of the Nazis. One of my favorite ever scenes in comic book films, and yeah, I want to see him in a Star Wars film. Someone make it happen, please.
I want to see him in a Star Wars film as well. And I think he'd make a fantastic senator. And I think he'd make a fantastic. He fits the role perfectly. Is he too young for this role? That's
maybe they'll actually force lightning him to age him up.
That would make more sense. But you can. Here's the thing, because he's got that kind of. He's like a magnetic actor. Like you just drawn to him. I feel like as a young Anakin, you would see him as like not only a father figure, but also a kind of figure that you would follow through, and you would have that influence. He'd be able to kind of drop things into conversation that would kind of lean in more towards the dark side. You could easily see that as a person who kind of toes the line.
No, yeah, I agree with that. It is an interesting one. I think he's on the comeback this year. I think he's got 3 films out this year. It's going to be the Taika Waititi one that took forever to come out because to reshoot it thanks to Arnie Hammer being a cannibal. It could have been great to play the next Sue in Attack of the Clones. But if I'm going to go through mine, I went for one. This was like the quickest thought in my head ever, and it was so easy. Jason Isaacs. I absolutely love Jason Isaacs and everything he's ever been in. Yes, he has been in Rebels in a voice role as the Grand Inquisitor, but he is not going to be the live-action Grand Inquisitor, so I'm going to cash him in for this. Listen, if you need someone to be a politician, you've got Lucius Malfoy. He's done so many roles. If you want him to get hammy, we've seen that. You look at where he's going to go in future films, he'd make an excellent chance, an excellent Palpatine. And when I get to talk about my Qui-Gon, I'll have a bit of an analogy as to how this has come to be. But similar to Dave picking Magneto, I think Jason Isaacs should be the next Magneto when the time comes to cast him.
As long as he keeps the accent, I'm happy with this pick.
Yeah. Oh, he will. He will. He won't drop
That's my only thing. He needs to keep the accent, and no one ever mentioned that it's completely not out of place from Star Wars, but it just doesn't suit the Star Wars universe. But no, fantastic actor. He can play both sides of the role very easily. Once again, young side. He's he's in his like late 50s. He's probably the same age. Oh god, that's scary. He's probably the same age McDermott was in '99. He doesn't look older. I will say this: Ian McDermott casting someone young in 1983 to play the Emperor, who would go on to play him for like the 40 years that follows, is one of the greatest casting moments in history. 100%.
That wasn't planned. It is one of the greatest casting moments in history.
Yeah. No, 100%.
No, again, I can't disagree with the choice, George. I think it's he plays so well. Yes, obviously, I go to Lucius Malfoy. Is probably what I've seen him in most, and the fact he did play the Grand Inquisitor, the voice in Rebels. So I think he's got that there. I think he'd be a great choice for Palpatine as well. He very much could, especially that early Senator role. I think he'd be really good.
So when I thought about my various different choices, who I could have played the Emperor and stuff like that, it did cross my mind that in Attack of the Clones, I would have to cast Count Dooku. And I feel like when you go for a lot of older actors and stuff like that, because I've gone older once again, I've gone older with pretty much all of my choices here across the board. You do have to think, does that character cross into that character because they are getting older? Which one would be better in which role? It came down to a few different actors to play the Emperor. It did kind of cross my mind. If I went younger, I'd go Andy Serkis, and I know he's already played Snoke.
I thought it too.
I thought that was possibility that I would go there, but I might use.
But Snoke is the Emperor now, unfortunately.
I know I might go as a different character later on and stuff like that. But in the end, I thought I need to think of an actor who has a kind voice, an actor who has that evilness behind him, and Malcolm McDowell is that person. He is a thespian. He absolutely holds that role. Everything that he holds in his entire career, I think. I couldn't think of anyone else but him as soon as I put him in the role. Like, it is Malcolm McDowell.
I've actually not seen him in anything. So I'm quiet here, and I should have seen him in a lot of stuff because I know he was in Clockwork Orange, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's got such a varied career. I mean, he's been a lot of TV stuff more in maybe the recent years, and a lot of maybe straight to early streaming films where he was playing those, especially when there's Lock, Stock films and stuff were coming out. There was a load of British versions of those being sort of pushed out straight out, and he was in a lot of those as sort of that Godfather-y type of British gangstery roles. But he's had such a varied career. I absolutely could see him. And he's very much very age appropriate for the role. I think he would slip that really well, especially with having if Terrence Stamp was still going to be the other centre as well. I think they would play off each other really well if they had a bigger role for that. So yeah, I could absolutely see that.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And that's going to round out a Palpatine. So that might be one that gets brought up again. We've got a couple of different people, a couple of different videos, and Palpatine role will evolve.
I do want to just throw in there, because I do want to throw in someone who I haven't cast, who I think would be perfect for that role. But Ben Kingsley was my third choice.
Can't go wrong with Ben Kingsley. Would he grow? I mean, I'd love to see him wrinkled because he looks fine still. Especially after his amazing.
But also thespian British actor who I think has that kindness in him, but could also easily play someone quite evil and vile, like in Sexy Beast. And
I was going to say Sexy Beast is the best one. Yeah, and he was in Thunderbirds, and I remember that. I do.
The Hood.
I didn't realize people hated it until I grew older, and I think he looks exactly like the Hood. But if we're going to segue into going from one extreme of Palpatine to another in Jar Jar Binks, some allude to as being the real Sith behind all this. This has been one of the funnest ones to do. Straight away again, Dave, who have you gone for? I can't wait to talk about these.
I kind of went with this in terms of voice, but the more I think about it, maybe put him in the suit as well, just because I think it would work really well, but I'd want it to be full suit, no CGI in it, just do it. Stephen Merchant is my choice for Jar Jar Binks. I think he has that clown sensibility, and not the clown the way they wrote Jar Jar in later books. We're forgetting that now because he's obviously awesome. But I think Stephen Merchant would fall into that role and be absolutely pitch perfect in terms of the voice he would put on, in the terms of how clumsy he would be, and how the cowardice behind his character as well. I couldn't get past him when I thought of Jar Jar Binks for who I would want now. I just think he fits the role. I don't know if that's maybe a bad thing on Steve Merchant, but he fits in my head as a perfect actor to fill that whole role for me.
I love this. When you sent it to me, I just pictured his eyes instead of Jar Jar Binks' eyes. And I think, he's like, what, like 6? He's massive. I swear he's like 6'4", 6'7".
Yeah.
Like, he is humongous. And I think he'd be perfect. He's so funny. I'd love him to keep the Bristolian accent as well. I think it'll make it even funnier.
It's not only the clumsiness, it's the awkwardness that he brings to every single role that I feel like would work perfectly fine with this. He has the physicality for it. He absolutely could do the voice for it and stuff like that. I genuinely, as soon as I saw that pick, I was like, wow, you've absolutely nailed that. You have 100%. You could easily see it.
I think people would want to see it. That's the other thing. Let them put a Gungan in Mandalorian. Let it be Stephen Merchant. We'll find a way. My one isn't as good, but one I was proud of until I saw Dave's. I went Jim Carrey. Now,
nice.
Jim Carrey to me is the greatest comedy actor that's ever been. I know that'll be controversial to some. I know that people say Laurel Hardy, which is fine, and I guess I'm more of a duo. But Jim Carrey's comedy, I think, is unmatched still in cinema. And what we have had this year in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, we have had the return of Jim Carrey. I don't believe him when he said he's retiring. Not at all. He will be in the third Sonic film. I would guarantee everything on that. But he's someone that outside of film, he's got this his personal life. I don't remember Kick-Ass 2 when he refused to promote it, or gun violence stuff. And he spoke about Sonic, saying that the fun of Sonic is that it's a kid's film, that he was able to play this hammy villain, but he doesn't actually do any damage or hurt people. He's like the failing villain. And I just thought, you know what? Jar Jar Binks is a clown, and he needs I think Ahmed Best is so underrated. It's such a very fantastic physical performance. Like, people obviously can speak about, it's Jar Jar Binks or with the dialogue, blah blah blah, but his actual performance in the mocap, the very first mocap role, is outstanding. And I think physical comedy, no one tops Jim Carrey. Not as tall as Stephen Merchant, still pretty tall, but could you just imagine Jim Carrey being in Star Wars, but being Jar Jar Binks? I'd want the facial expressions, like, it'd be perfect.
No, I think at first I didn't like the pick, but then when I thought about it more and thought back on his roles and what he's done with various different kind of characters he's been thrown into, I think he would absolutely nail it, and I think it's a very good choice. I just think his expressionism is just fantastic across the board.
Yeah, if you took him back to sort of that Mask Ace Ventura era when he was like, that was all what he was doing, like make the most amazing faces and the most amazing sounds would come out of that, and the way he played up things like even like Liar Liar, stuff like that. I think those incredible roles when he was at his real height and pomp, I just think he would fit into that. He would certainly fit into that role of Jar Jar very well. I don't know so much of him being the physical embodiment of Jar Jar, but certainly if you want to put a voice behind it and let him do the mocap for a face, I think would be an absolutely perfect fit.
My pick is Taika Waititi. I don't even know if I have to say much more. It feels like he is the live action person behind Jar Jar nowadays with all of his roles that he's put forwards. I don't know if I need to explain this much.
No, honestly, it came through. And you know what? I'd say this. We've had all three now. Like I said, I think Jar Jar Binks has been my favourite casting from everyone.
Oh, easily.
And I think it just goes to show, like, nowadays, like, not that he's accepted more, because that sounds really unfair, but I think the world is like welcoming of Jar Jar now.
We have healed.
Understands. Yeah, and I think it's a fun role. I think, again, kids love him. I mean, I didn't personally as a kid, which is ironic, but he is a big fan for like young people in Star Wars. It's an entry point, and all that episode 1 merch back in the day of all the Jar Jar Binks stuff. The weird lollipop is creepy, though. I will say that. If anyone's seen that, or the sellotape holder, if anyone's also seen that one, that's very weird. But no, Jar Jar Binks a lot of fun. You can't go wrong with Taika. He is like, I think even Disney knows that he's going to be in Lightyear, right? He's like the comedies. Lightyear. Obviously Thor. I know he's directing that too, but the Star Wars IG-11. He's the guy. He's the go-to guy. And if anyone follows him on Instagram, he's literally been on holiday for 2 weeks with his kids. and he's just been doing like shit dad videos, just taking the piss.
Yeah.
And he's just a comedy genius.
Also, I feel like just you would bring in that level of kind of comedy writing that you might need for that role. You need someone who's able to kind of add stuff to that role, ad lib, and with all 3 characters that we picked, all of them can do stuff off the cuff. So it would work. All 3 of those picks would work. Like you could easily take your pick and have a short list with just those 3 on it, and you'd work with that.
I think that's really important. The actual being able to, someone who can write it, like you say, I think that's really important to that kind of role, because it can, if not done well, it like Jar Jar was hit it for so long. I think it's more of a respect thing now. People have it as the movie's aged, but I think absolutely Tayte would be an amazing choice.
Definitely, and with that in mind, we're moving on to the man that rescued Jar Jar Binks. He owes him a life debt. Who told him the ability to speak doesn't make you intelligent? One of my favorite ever lines dialogue from a film. Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson. I'm excited to go through these, but Dave, we'll go with yours first.
My choice for Qui-Gon was an early pick, and I went straight away with John Krasinski. I just think he is now, not only is he a handsome man, but I think he is would play that role really, really well. And people might know him very well from The Office and maybe from a little bit of A Quiet Place. I think he very much turned into more of a grown-up actor in A Quiet Place, although he's not in that very long, but he plays such a pivotal role. And the other reason, obviously, that I went for Emily Blunt as my Shmi was because I think in episode 1, there's that not said relationship, but there's certainly something between Qui-Gon and Shmi Skywalker, and it's palpable when you sit and watch it. And that kind of led me more to put Emily Blunt in that role, because I think that would just be a nice thing to play off each other. But I just think John Krasinski could do anything. He did a lot of stuff during lockdown where he brought out the Good News channel. I just think he seems like a really good guy. Seems like a really good actor and a director as well. I think is someone who could be important in leaning into that when he's being this big major role as well. So that was my pick for Qui-Gon Jinn. I think he'd be a very dignified character.
When you sent me this, straight away I thought, okay, he knows the Qui-Gon Shmi discussions that have took place online for many years. There's always been something about them as a couple, and father figure to Anakin. Very briefly, I was like, it'll work. Him and Shmi, that perfect way to do it.
I saw that immediately as well and went, you cast that kind of together and stuff like that. But also, he's done stuff with Jack Reacher, so he does the action stuff as well. Like he has that ability to bring that to the role as well, which you do need. And I know that before Liam Neeson was in there, he'd only really done romantic comedies and stuff like that. You do need an action element. He is a Jedi. You need that thrown in there. So I think he could work well with that.
Yeah. My one, who I've gone for, is very interesting and maybe a bit contextual with what's been out recently. I've gone for Ethan Hawke. And now the main reason I got that photo is because look at the beard; it matches the
beard.
Hair,
So
He has the look.
I have seen The Northman recently, and I have been praising that film Beyond the Moon, and that will come into it shortly. But Ethan Hawke for one film, again, Moon Knight. By the time this video's come out, the series is finished. We hope the series had a strong finish. Episode 5 is out if you're curious about where we're up to. I think he's a very good actor. I've not seen the Before trilogy, and I kind of really want to now. And is it Before trilogy, the Sunset trilogy? I don't know which.
Yeah, it's the Sunset, Sunrise, and Midnight trilogy. Yeah.
But I really like everything I've ever seen him in. I think he's a hugely, for someone of the accolades he has, he feels very underrated, and I feel like he's not a household name. And I think the beauty of Qui-Gon Jinn is that although Liam Neeson had done stuff over here, obviously Schindler's List was probably his biggest thing. He linked to Bond at the time. I don't think Liam Neeson was the household name he would go on to become as the years sort of followed with stuff like Batman, Taken, Narnia, and all the other stuff. But I think Ethan Hawke, for one film only, to bring him in, to be a mentor to somebody, and then get him offed. And the big thing here for me is the father figure. Tayte actually said it earlier with Palpatine. Anakin sees Qui-Gon as a father figure he never had immediately. And you need to have the age of someone being the Emperor Palpatine similar to Qui-Gon to fill that vacant father role. I think that's the one thing that they never got with the Phantom Menace. I'm not going to complain about that. But for how obvious it became as the years went by, you want that similar age. So I went for Ethan Hawke as Qui-Gon Jinn. And obviously, I'll get to speak about his student later on and who his mentor is in the next one with Count Dooku.
No, I think it's a very solid pick. I mean, he's the lead character in my favorite film of all time, so I will always give kind of praise up for Ethan Hawke just for his role in Gattaca alone. But like, as far as his other roles that I've seen him in over the years, he's able to play such a wide variety of characters. He's able to kind of show so much range in his acting, and he is a fantastic actor. Like, I don't think I've seen him in a terrible role ever. He just knows how to fit into his role and fit into his character. So he would bring so much to that, especially just for one film as a father figure. And even as a Jedi, you could easily see it. So yeah, good pick.
I think he would bring a lot of, I think more than Neeson maybe brought the role, certainly maybe a calmer voice than Neeson had, and a different way of portraying that character, while still even maybe having the same script. He would have a very different feel to him in the way he portrayed it. I think he's an exceptional actor. I think you're right when you said he's underrated, maybe because he does a lot, but he picks his roles so wisely. He seems to look at what he wants to bring to that, and I think an exceptional actor, and would be a great choice, a very different choice. But yeah, I really like that as well.
So my pick for Qui-Gon Jinn was actually the easiest. It was the first name that went down immediately. It may be really bad. It's once again dumb logic coming in, but dumb logic sometimes works. Swordplay because he's a Jedi, father figure because you need that for Anakin and stuff like that. Dies all the time because you know the character's going to die. It's Sean Bean. There's no one else who fills that role. It is Sean Bean. He is getting on a little bit older, and as you've seen so far from all of my castings, they've all been aged up. But he's still got that physicality. He's still got that father figure. He's still got that mentor, constant mentorness that comes through with all of his roles, even if he doesn't mean to be the mentor. Maybe he was perfect for this role, like when the prequels came out. But I still think with this aged up cast, he would work.
You can't go wrong. Like, mentor figure to off him. You won't behead him though, but he's going to die. It makes sense for Sean Bean, and we'd go from the Northern Irish accent to the first ever Yorkshire Styles accent, wouldn't we, as well?
Yeah.
Do it for Yorkshire, Anakin. That would be amazing. But no, I think you're right. He's who doesn't like Sean Bean and the roles he plays? He doesn't seem to take himself overly seriously. He seems to go and have a good time on films. And look, something like The National Treasure when he was in that one. I just think he plays such a good role. He is a consummate actor, I think. And again, I think someone who you'd look at and say really underrated in what he does and what he could bring to the role of Qui-Gon as well. And I think you're right, he is probably a bit older than I would have gone, but with the rest of your cast, that would fit in really well with the age that he is. So yeah, absolutely, why not? I think Sean Bean is an excellent choice to get stabbed and killed in another movie.
Yeah.
And matching them, we've all got a certain Obi. I feel it's blasphemy recasting Obi-Wan on the month that Kenobi comes out.
It was honestly, it was the hardest one out of all of them. It was easily the hardest choice out of all of them.
I think so. I think a bit of background for this again. We're going to go to the core of the show. We're having fun. We're having a laugh, which is what we like doing. So
please calm down in the comments, okay?
Yeah. No sane person doesn't want Ewan McGregor to play Obi-Wan Kenobi. But if it was being rebooted and we had to recast Obi-Wan Kenobi, this is what the concept of the show is. So, Dave, who is your Phantom Menace Obi-Wan Kenobi?
My Phantom Menace for Obi-Wan Kenobi is a man of the moment. It is Andrew Garfield. And I've picked him because he's just handsome and I love him and I want more of Andrew Garfield in my life before he goes off and has a break from acting. He's going to do Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and be glorious in a beard. And I think this man, the more I see of him, could do anything. And look at me with dreamy eyes and I'll believe what he's telling me. I just think he's coming into his own as an actor. He can now, like, see things like The Eyes of Tammy Faye as well, where he's not taking on just roles that are what I would expect of a British actor to take, that he kind of is taking on more mature roles as well. But I think is someone who can disappear into a character, having that background playing Spider-Man and then coming back in No Way Home and playing the same version, but a much the final version of that Spider-Man, I think, was a really big take on him. And I just love Andrew Garfield. I'll just talk about him forever. Tick Tick Boom is exceptional. I just think he's got so much as an actor, and from the kid I once saw in a Doctor Who episode to now be Oscar nominated and growing and seem to have roles probably thrown at his feet, though he's probably getting more scripts than he knows what to do with. Why he's probably wanting to take a break, but he could be an excellent Kenobi. Put him in a beard and no beard, not yet. Little braid, sorry, no beard. Beard will come later. But yeah, I think for me, Garfield would be a great young Obi-Wan Kenobi. Still got a baby face too for his age.
When he first sent to me, I was like, Garfield. And then when I was doing the photos, I was like, hold on. When you put him next to Ewan in episode 1, you said it, the braid, the hair. I see it now, and I didn't before. And you think you're going to grow with this role? Actually, Garfield's the first thing because he said his. I think Spider-Man came at the perfect time for him, i.e., he didn't get drawn into a franchise for too long. I know it has its fans, his films now, but he never got bogged down with the franchise, and his Spider-Man wasn't not good enough. That sounds horrible. Not him, his performance, but because of No Way Home, the attachment to Spider-Man, I would say, is now back. But I don't think it's ever leached his career like it will for Holland, like it has for Maguire. I think Garfield, like Adam Driver in Star Wars, has done so much to divert as an actor away from the franchise role. And I'd love to see him in Star Wars. And I always forget he was in Doctor Who. It was many years ago. And then I also remember when he was younger in the Heath Ledger's final film, it's got the really weird name that was
Dr. Parnassus Swan.
Yeah, that was it. And I remember that. I was like, he's going to be Spider-Man soon. And
I think he's a fantastic actor. I think all of the films you've named off have been brilliant. I don't see him as Obi-Wan. I would see him more as Anakin episode 3. I think he's got that ability to be unhinged. I genuinely do. I could see him with the scar on his face. I could see him shouting, "You liar," spitting out. I think he's got that ability as an actor. I've seen it in other films. I think he would fit in that role more in my head, and therefore I can't see him as Obi-Wan.
He's too nice. He couldn't turn to the dark side.
He's got darkness in there. He really has.
I could see him as an actor who has that range to be able to be volatile, and I see him as, especially in episode 2, I can see him as the kind of character who has that soft-spoken kind of "Are you sure, master?" and stuff like that, and that kind of following off of someone else, and then that expanding out into something a little bit more volatile in the final film. I could easily see that.
At least no one did Andrew Garfield.
Generally dreamy.
At least you didn't put Tom Holland as Anakin to go with Tayte Maguire's. You'd be crying. And then Tayte Maguire's actually the Empire, and it's excellent.
Okay,
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Your Obi-Wan. Is it Tobey Maguire?
It's not. As much as I wish it would be. I've gone for someone really interesting. Actually, I was surprised myself with this. Alexander Skarsgård. Look at the eyes, look at the hair, look at the sort of beard forming. That's just his photo. His actual IMDb photo, which I nabbed this off, it's him like in pants, and I think he's done an interview about it, like taking the piss, because he's a bit of a troll. But anyway, again, Northman hype. You know, Ethan Hawke plays his dad in the Northman. This isn't a spoiler because this is the original folktale, and he's offed in the first scene. And you need your Qui-Gon Jinn to be offed for not for Anakin, sorry, for Obi-Wan as well as Anakin. And Skarsgård, he's got those blue eyes, and if he can get the British accent, that's a big thing for me. But listen, I think the Skarsgård family are coming for Hollywood. They're coming for many things. We're getting Papa Skarsgård in Cassian this year as well. He's ticking off his Star Wars box. Obviously, you know, the big thing with Obi-Wan again is the journey. You're gonna have to get him aged up in a couple of years, but I think Alexander Skarsgård can do all 3 forms of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I think as an actor, now we've seen the Northman, though that lightsaber duel with Darth Maul, that 1 minute where it's just one-on-one, absolutely going at each other, that is the ending to the Northman. Maybe it'd be near a Mustafar with the volcanic planet and all that sort of stuff. But Alexander Skarsgård, it might make more sense in the next video, and that's what I'm going to say on that.
I think that's a good choice. I think he looks like the role, genuinely. I think he matches kind of what you would see in an Obi-Wan as well. And if you were to recast it, he would be one of the first names that I'd think of immediately, kind of that is the right age, that has the right kind of sensibility around the role. Like you said, the only thing that you'd have to work on would be the accent, because you do need the accent. It's one of the only characters where you do need the accent for it to work. But I mean, even if he doesn't have the accent as a different take, you could see him in the mentor role. I think it would work.
You know, when you brought that picture up, the first thing he looked like when I saw it, he looks the spitting double of James Arnold Taylor, who does the voice of Obi-Wan in Clone Wars. He looks really similar to him. When I saw that picture, just in that picture, I was like, that looks like him. But no, you're right. The accent thing is essential, that you got that right. But I don't think the Skarsgard boys, you're right, they are taking over, and I don't think that'll be a problem. I think that'll be something that they would do with ease to learn that accent, to probably mimic Alec Guinness even. No one does it better than you, Ewan. No one, but they might. But I just think, yeah, you can't. He's a great actor, and I can't see why he would not be a great Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So, with my final pick, and this is what kind of sent me down the route of make everyone older, and it did kind of make sense when I thought, okay, we'll get rid of the whole kind of Anakin Padme kind of nonsense about kind of the age gap and stuff like that comes across the films and stuff like that, and trying to avoid that kind of topic of conversation. But the first immediate thought was, you can't replace Ewan McGregor. It's really, really hard to do that. He is so perfect for the role. And the only way you could do that isn't by kind of like replacing him. It's just to go sideways and go with the other Scottish actor. So I've gone with James McAvoy. It's the only choice. It is the only choice that I could think of at the time. And he still has that young-ish look. He would have the accent. He would have that ability. You wouldn't need him to grow into the role. He already has that kind of role. And you've seen from various different films, especially from the X-Men films, that he's able to kind of pull off a mentor role, even an unhinged role in like Days of Past, and kind of that torment that runs inside of him and stuff like that. But I think as far as his character role is concerned, I could easily see him doing like the scenes in episode 3 with Anakin. I could see him doing that accent. I could see him doing the "You're my brother, Anakin" and stuff like that. And that's what I was immediately thinking of. I wasn't thinking of how would it work in episode 1. I was thinking across the 3 films, if I was to cast one person who would fit that role. You can't replace Ewan McGregor, so you've got to just go sideways and go with the other Scottish person.
You know, it's the perfect analogy, though. It's what he's like. Ewan's so hard to race. Like, it's the other Scottish guy that can do the British guy.
Yeah.
And I think McAvoy, I still feel he's underrated as an actor, you know, and he's not.
I think so.
We all know how good he is. There's just something about him that he hasn't, like, the really challenging roles like Split. He's not had that recognition that other things have had, and I absolutely love him, and I think he is perfect. He could do it, and it is that, again, a lot of it just goes on him being Scottish, and I'll take that in a heartbeat. That's what you want from him.
I was going to say, by aging him up and having him older, I aged everyone else up around it, because you have to get Obi-Wan to work for the entire prequel trilogy to work.
And just think, he plays like a different Professor X in every decade, apparently, for some reason, in those films, which is ridiculous.
He's a great choice. You'd have to get rid of those hairy goat legs to get into the Jedi pants from they had Narnia. No, he's an absolutely great choice. I think you're right. It's the hardest one I thought as well to just replace, because Ewan McGregor is so ingrained in that role. To even, you know what, when I think about it more and more, yes, Alec Guinness is a great Obi-Wan older, but my God, if this role wasn't built for Ewan McGregor to age into Obi-Wan is...
I'll be honest. I did almost pick his twin brother. I did think, I really want to pick his twin brother here, but I couldn't. I need an actor.
But yeah, McAvoy is great. I think the great call on Split, because I think in that where he plays so many different people in the same person. So yeah, he can certainly jump in that, and yeah, Professor X is fine as well. But I think McAvoy is probably one of the other choices. You're right. You could step 2, but we all know this is the one we don't want to replace at all. Out of any of that cast, is the one act that you're like, I don't really want to do this one. But yeah, great choice.
Especially this month of all months. But no, fantastic. And that is going to round out all of our picks. So what I've got, I have our official casting photos. So I'm going to break the original cast once more for everybody at home. They're all in black and white because they've all been rebooted. You know what's you want some fun behind the scenes of the channel? This whole concept of this show, this is actually quite fitting. came off the casting announcement for Kenobi, because if you go to the image, they have the golden circle or square around the cast with the square photos inside them, and you don't get that for TV. You normally only get it for theatre. So we actually owe these photo formats to the Kenobi show, which is lovely behind the scenes knowledge. But bringing up everybody's here, we have Dave's new Phantom Menace cast. And I love seeing it like this because you get to see the duos and the partnerships within that, if that makes any sense to everybody at home. Because you get your Anakin and Padme.
Stephen Merchant right in the center looks amazing.
Yeah, look at those eyes. It's fantastic. And, you got your Anakin and your Obi-Wan. Not Anakin and Obi-Wan, your Obi-Wan and your Qui-Gon. So that's Dave's there. I think it's excellent. Again, direct composer, what we all began with. Then we're going to segue on to my one as well, for everyone to have a look. And also, if anyone's really curious, we just use pictures from red carpets because it's just easier rather than just finding them in roles. And I'm not going to Photoshop them into these roles. That's ridiculous. They have that much spare time. So that's where these ones come from. And then we're going to move into Tayte as well, rounding that off. I actually love the Qui-Gon. I don't think anyone's got any bad picks. I'm going to be really blunt here. I'm not just saying because you're on the stream with me. There has not been a bad choice, especially, again, casting that hardest role in an Obi-Wan and getting the duos right. So that has been the second episode of Reboots From Hell. I don't really know how to outro this kind of show. Obviously, as we said, we want you to comment below. So agree with those, disagree with those, comment along with your picks who you would love to see. Is Ewan McGregor uncastable? Here's a better question for you. Is Ewan McGregor's legacy as Obi-Wan Kenobi surpassed Alec Guinness's? That is the question that I've been thinking of at home for a while, and I'm inclined to say yes, but re-ask me in 2 months' time, please. So please do comment on this. And as we said, we're doing all three of these films. Next week is going to be Attack of the Clones, Monday the 16th of May. We've got a very special guest. Sam's going to be joining us for that, who took part in our top 10 rankings video. And it is the anniversary of Attack of the Clones. So if you've enjoyed this video, we basically get to recast that entire film, bar one or two roles. And we'll explain in that video what happens when we've got people that have already cast roles X, Y, Z. So a lot of things happening there. Tayte, where can we find our socials and what is coming up?
So you can find us on these various different websites on Twitter, Facebook, and on Letterboxd. You can also find us on TeePublic, where you can get stuff down in the description. We do have some other things coming out. We, of course, have our Spielberg retrospective going on. So trying to think of when the videos will be coming out. Yes, next up we have E.T. On Tuesday, the 10th of May. So keep an eye out for that. Should be a really interesting discussion. Who have you got on for that, George? For that discussion?
So we've got Neil joining me on that one. Who getting him back on the channel. Got some great stories there with his past with ET and looking ahead. He was at the 40th anniversary screening at the Prince Charles Cinema, so it was lovely to get him on for that one. And as well, Dave, we've got a link in the description to your channel. Where can people find you and what have you got going on?
If you want to, you can come over to my YouTube channel, which is The Life of Brian, currently model building, which is the Ecto 1/1/8 scale. You can catch me on Twitter at @TheDaveBryan, and that is currently me mainly going through my movies for the year. I think I'm up to movie 107 for 2022 that I've watched. So yeah, it's just kind of building that through. Currently in the middle of the Bonds, and I'm going back to try and watch all of the Oscar Best Picture winners before the year's out.
Definitely. So everybody, please do follow, subscribe to Dave. You're always jumping on. Again, we're gonna have you on more Star Wars videos this month. We know that much. There's a lot in place. This is Star Wars month. We've got Kenobi coming into the month. We've got Star Wars Celebration that's happening as well. We're going to have a tier list video up at some point this month and a Kenobi predictions video. A lot of Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff, which is why I felt so bad to recast him this month. But this is what this series is all about, Reboots From Hell. So if you did enjoy this, if you want to see more of these, if you head over to our Letterboxd, I believe there is a list on there which has the list of the 100 that the randomizer does. So if you're really curious about what could pop up in the future past this month, this is a video we've wanted to do for a while. Tayte, I'm glad to have got you on this one. And again, you're going to be with me for all three of these prequels. I know that 2 and 3 are the same cast. Again, we'll explain that next video for everybody at home. So thank you all for watching. I don't like to say may the force be with you. It sounds really rude, but it is Star Wars month. So may the force be with you and see you on the next one. Take care.